We are kicking off with WWE, and right now, few stars have more potential than Jacob Fatu, who has been a fixture of the SmackDown main event scene ever since his debut this year. At Crown Jewel, Fatu was on the winning side of the Bloodline six-man tag team match, but now a concerning incident from his pre-WWE days has come to light. In April 2023, a charity called Jake's Network of Hope, a nonprofit that helps out underprivileged people, hosted a fundraiser event that featured Fatu on the card. Other names on the show included Billy Gunn, Vampiro, Tatanka, and Brian Pillman Jr., now Lexis King, but when the day of the show came, Fatu did not make an appearance. The charity's development director, Jen Harper, said at the time that Fatu had called and said there was a family emergency, which Jake's Network of Hope were understanding of. All the charity wanted was the money they'd spent booking Fatu, his accommodation, and his plane ticket, which came to $2,633, but they did not receive the money. Harper said at the time that Fatu ghosted the production team behind the show and the agent who booked him, and this controversy was recently brought up on the Squared Circle subreddit. After a user asked if Fatu ever paid the money back, the husband of Jake's Network of Hope provided an update saying the charity has not been reimbursed the amount. They called Fatu a fantastic in-ring performer and said that it sucks that this is all they can think about whenever they see him competing on WWE TV. This update only furthered the backlash against Fatu, who deactivated his Twitter account after these reports surfaced, though it is now back online. As per Sportskeeda's Dr. Chris Featherstone's report, WWE is aware of this accusation against Fatu for the alleged actions and are investigating the resurfaced reports as well. However, there has been no further confirmation of any action they are considering regarding this beyond an investigation, though that will depend on the outcome. Fatu is at the center of a big storyline heading into Survivor Series, where he is expected to compete in the long-rumored Bloodline vs. Bloodline War Games match. With that in mind, it remains to be seen what happens and what the results of the investigation are, and fans will have to wait to see how Triple H and WWE conclude this. For his run on WWE's main roster, Gunther has been a top heel, with feuds with popular stars like Sheamus and Sami Zayn to his name. At Crown Jewel, Gunther lost to WWE's top babyface Cody Rhodes in their Crown Jewel title match, and that may have sparked a character change for the Ring General. Backstage, Gunther was asked about his loss and said that Rhodes didn't get lucky, but he was simply the better man, in a surprising sign of humility by the World Heavyweight Champion. Gunther also then cast shade on Ludwig Kaiser, who was with him, and pointed out Sheamus being in the #1 Contenders match, given that Ludwig had vowed to take Sheamus out. Gunther has said that both he and Kaiser would have to do better, and this was quite the change from Gunther's typical confident and brash personality, and teased a face turn. Of course, we've seen teases like this before, such as the one with Braun Breaker just a few weeks ago, and he quickly turned back to being a full-fledged heel. As to whether we'll see a fully fledged face turn from Gunther, that remains to be seen, but these comments have left fans pondering on a major change for the Ring General. Over to Raw now, as Sami Zayn came out but was interrupted by Jey Uso, who wanted confirmation that Sami kicking Roman at Crown Jewel was unintentional. Jey said that upon reviewing the footage, he felt it was unintentional, but Jimmy Uso came out and said he wasn't buying Sami's claim that it was an accident. Sami reminded Jimmy that it was he who brought him into the Bloodline in 2022, and it was Jimmy who kicked Roman Reigns in the face last year, as he did to his brother at SummerSlam. While Jimmy said Sami was never family, Jey assured him that he was, even without an official blood relation, and Jey called Sami Uso as Zayn was making his exit. This was a huge endorsement by Jey to cap off an incredible segment filled with drama that has become a staple of the Bloodline saga. This was a logical next step in the gradual reunion of the OG Bloodline, as Jimmy, who wanted nothing to do with Zayn, would naturally take issue with Jey trying to reunite with him. The accidental kick to Reigns gives Jimmy a reason to take issue with Zayn, while Jey understandably supported his friend he's fought side by side with in the past. Now it'll be up to Zayn to determine whether he shows up Friday night and if he's interested in settling his differences with Roman Reigns once and for all. With a War Games match expected against the revamped Bloodline, Reigns could do with Sami in the structure, and that could make for another epic segment this Friday on SmackDown. Last week, WWE teased a rivalry between the team of Women's World Champion Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez and Women's Tag Team Champions Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This was taken to the next level on this week's Raw as the babyfaces confronted the heels to kick off the show, as Belair and Cargill interrupted Morgan's post-Crown Jewel victory lap. Morgan responded by planting the seeds of dissent between them, which at this point didn't work, and things got physical as Belair slapped the Women's World Champion. Raw GM Adam Pearce interjected himself into things by announcing a battle royal to determine the #1 contender to Morgan's title. This was an effective kickoff that gave the continued tease of a Belair-Cargill split, the next chapter in a rivalry between the two teams, and the announcement of the contenders match. That is how you maximize minutes, even if there is an argument to be made that it is too early to begin the inevitable Belair-Cargill breakup. Now, this segment wasn't discussed during yesterday's spoilers of Raw and Riyadh, and while we did cover the Battle Royal, we didn't give our review of the contest. As we reported, Io Sky won the match to earn a title match with Morgan, but she wasn't the only superstar who had a standout performance. Ivy Nile eliminated Maxine Dupree to continue their story of former friends turned bitter enemies, and the Belair-Cargill stare down and tease drew a monster reaction from the crowd. Their eventual match is going to be epic, and it was also great to see Lyra Valkyria make it to the Final Four in her return to Saudi Arabia after being in the middle of a major push last time around. In the end, though, it was Sky who won, which came after Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez interfered to eliminate Belair and Cargill, likely setting up a tag title match for Survivor Series. That's if Sky doesn't get her title shot at the PLE first, as a date for her title match with Liv Morgan isn't known at this time. The Battle Royal did a decent job of highlighting some ongoing stories, but also showed an inconvenient truth that the roster is loaded with talent, but with only so many opportunities to shine. Hopefully that becomes more of an initiative heading into 2025, because as great as Triple H and his creative team's efforts, the use of talent beyond 4 or 5 stars has been seriously lacking. Raw also saw a tag match between the War Raiders and the New Day, and while we reported the result yesterday, we now have our review on the match. Miscommunication between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods led to another crushing defeat for the New Day at the hands of the War Raiders. It was late in the match that Kingston set up trouble in paradise only for Woods to tag himself in, and Eric and Ivar laid out Kingston before finishing off Woods with War Machine. This was a solid match with Michael Cole and Corey Graves doing some great work on commentary, with Cole telling how Eric and Ivar have overcome serious injuries. It helps to get the Raiders over with fans at home, which ultimately traverses to the live experience, and Graves followed Cole by examining the style of both men earlier in their careers. Graves compared their work today to earlier in their careers in one of his best calls in weeks, and this match also saw the continued downward spiral of the New Day. It seems like a split is guaranteed now, while the War Raiders should continue to build their momentum ahead of their World Tag Title opportunity. Right now, WWE is embarking on a tour of the United Kingdom, and during last weekend's event in Dublin, Ireland, one superstar made their in-ring return after a lengthy absence. As part of the show, B-Fab teamed with Mia Yim to defeat Chelsea Green and Piper Niven in the first match for B-Fab in 258 days, and only her second match of 2024. There's been no reports of B-Fab being injured, and her absence from the ring is likely just due to WWE keeping her in a managerial role with the Street Profits rather than in the ring. B-Fab had been with the Profits and Bobby Lashley as part of the Pride earlier this year, but with Lashley now in AEW, questions remain about the fate of all 3 remaining members. Whether B-Fab's match is a sign of more for her on TV, time will tell, but fans in Dublin certainly got a surprise by seeing her first match since a Battle Royal back in February. On January 5th, AEW, New Japan, CMLL, Stardom, and Ring of Honor will come together for Wrestle Dynasty, the first show of its kind from the legendary Tokyo Dome. With 5 promotions involved, fans are excited at the prospect of interpromotional matches, and one such match was revealed during New Japan's Power Struggle event. In the main event, Zack Sabre Jr. defended the IWGP World Heavyweight title against Shingo Takagi, only for Ricochet's music to interrupt his celebration. Sabre looked intently at the entrance ramp, waiting for the AEW star, but Ricochet blindsided him from behind and floored him with a springboard clothesline. Taking the mic, Ricochet congratulated ZSJ on his victory and formally issued a challenge for Wrestle Dynasty and prepared to deliver his signature kill shot to the champion. Shota Umino stormed to the ring to stop that happening, but Sabre didn't appreciate the assistance and turned on Umino, leading Shota to retaliate with a brutal Death Rider. Zack agreed to grant a future title shot to Shota, though the date remains unconfirmed, but for now his attention is on Ricochet and their clash next January at Wrestle Dynasty. Are you excited at the prospect of Ricochet versus ZSJ? Do you think the one and only will be the next IWGP World Heavyweight Champion? Share your thoughts down below. Not too long ago, Montez Ford went public with his frustration over his WWE booking, noting that the Street Profits haven't held gold in the past 4 years. Ford also noted that fans have seemed to forget about himself and Angelo Dawkins and only remember them when they're the frequent victims of a beatdown by the Bloodline. Typically, WWE stars refrain from criticizing their booking, or if they do it in a way that makes the company look good, such as speaking about how competitive WWE is due to a stacked roster. Ford has certainly gone against the company's norm, which has landed him in hot water, as Wade Keller reports that Triple H is angry at Ford for speaking out so publicly. Ford was advised not to publicly discuss creative and other backstage details, and we doubt angering the COO will do Ford any favors in his desire to move up the card. Montez Ford was once touted as a future world champion by The Rock, but his career has reached a plateau, and given what's happened, it may be quite some time before he gets pushed. Back to Raw, and Dragon Lee sought revenge after American-Made's Chad Gable attacked Rey Mysterio last week in the Triple Threat #1 Contenders match. Lee and Gable went one-on-one this week and gave a great match, hardly a surprise given the talents of both men and their styles that complement each other well. Lee took a hellish bump over the ring post and to the floor entering the break. The slow-mo replay, which showed how close he came to a catastrophic landing, was outstanding. The pair rightly earned a "This is awesome" chant, and late in the match, Zelina Vega prevented Gable from cheating, earning herself an attack from Ivy Nile. Mysterio hit the ring to check on Vega, and a tussle with Gable ensued, and this distraction allowed Lee to deliver Operation Dragon and score the pinfall victory. This was an excellent match, and if the idea in the coming weeks is to let the LWO and American Made have great matches on Monday nights, so be it. On the October 21st Raw, Lilian Garcia returned to the Red Brand to step in for Samantha Irvin, who just hours before the show shared publicly that she had parted ways with WWE. The return of the legendary ring announcer brought a wave of nostalgia to the WWE universe as she took over announcing duties and received a warm reception from the crowd. On her Instagram Q&A, Garcia opened up about the emotional journey that led to her return and felt her late father's support with her on the night. She said, "When I got the call just a few weeks ago, I felt like this was my dad and his gift, bringing me to this again. I've missed you guys, and I will say that when my music hit and I came out in Philadelphia, I was not prepared for the love. I feel like this massive wall came through me with this rush and this energy." While Garcia did not join WWE in Saudi Arabia, she will be back on WWE Raw next Monday to continue her role as ring announcer, bringing her signature style and warmth to the show. On November 1st, Marco Stunt announced that he would be retiring from professional wrestling, saying the decision came after a talk with his doctor about his long-term health. Speaking with Pluggo of Love Wrestling, Stunt opened up about his struggle to stay in the game due to his health issues, as he explained, "So it's something I've been trying to avoid for a while now. I've been dealing with a lot of lower back issues, and I found out why now." After undergoing medical evaluations, doctors discovered his right hip was rotating inward, causing his tailbone to shift, which left him in persistent pain and with uneven leg lengths. Stunt was aware of his condition, but later learned it was affecting his strength, as he said, "If I were to continue doing it, there is that possibility of being paralyzed. That was a wake-up call." Stunt also shared a deeply personal reason for his choice, as he shared that his role as a father influenced his decision to leave the ring behind. He said, "I've got a family now. Not everybody knows that. I've got a daughter. I'm excited to have a family and to grow a family and to focus on that as much as I can." Ultimately, Marco Stunt is making what he considers the best choice for him, and we are wishing him the very best with whatever comes next in his life post-wrestling. As we mentioned yesterday, Damian Priest won the Fatal 4-Way to earn a title match with Gunther, but here's our review for this week's bout. Priest will have the chance to avenge his SummerSlam loss in a World Heavyweight title rematch after defeating Dominic Mysterio, Sheamus, and Seth Rollins. Priest overcame a devastating tsunami from an interfering Bronson Reed to catch Mysterio in midair with South of Heaven for the win. The match was great as expected, and given the talent involved with fun storytelling and sequences, complemented by quality near falls and great storytelling. The work by all involved to present Dominic as someone who actually belonged, only to have him cowering as Bronson Reed tore through the baby faces, was an outstanding job. Speaking of Big Bronson, he bounced back from Crown Jewel with gusto here and looked as dangerous as ever after costing Rollins a chance to regain the World Heavyweight title. Priest versus Gunther may not be the most exciting option for some, but the babyface has been one of the best stories and biggest breakout stars of 2024. He's certainly earned another shot at the world title that he only lost because of Finn Balor, and fans can expect a brawl between Priest and the King of the Ring soon enough. And that was this week's Raw, as WWE rolled into Riyadh to deliver one of its best weekly TV shows from an in-ring perspective in months. Lee and Gable stole the show with a physical battle, while the Women's Battle Royal to start the show featured enough intertwined storytelling and a great finish from Sky and Valkyria. The New Day vs. War Raiders was good, and a fantastic main event capped off the broadcast, complete with the rejuvenation of Bronson Reed. throwing teased breakups for more than one team, and the latest in the Bloodline drama, and this week's Raw was a definite thumbs up and one of the better shows we've seen this year. We've got news from All Japan Pro Wrestling now, as Davey Boy Smith Jr. has captured the AJPW Triple Crown Championship in the main event of the Giant Series 2024. Smith, a former WWE Tag Team Champion, became the 74th champion in the Triple Crown title's legacy with a win over Yuma Aoyagi, and is the 7th foreign wrestler to hold the title. Smith joins the likes of Terry Gordy, Stan Hansen, Dr. Death Steve Williams, and Big Van Vader in an elite club of foreign champions after joining AJPW at the end of 2023. Now the Triple Crown champion, the second-generation star, is ready to take on all comers, and what do you think of Davey Boy's win? Let us know down in the comments. Earlier this month, it was confirmed that Indy Hartwell and Tegan Knox had been released by WWE, and that Baron Corbin had been informed his contract will not be renewed. For the Lone Wolf, this marks the end of a 12-year run with the company, during which at times he seemed poised for a run as a WWE World Champion. That didn't happen, and when a fan on Instagram claimed that WWE had fumbled Corbin, the wrestler appreciated the fans' support and said he agreed with what was said. Interestingly, Corbin was involved in a WWE Netflix commercial and video shoot on October 27th, just days before his departure from WWE was made public. Fightful Select reported that he was joined by stars like Io Sky, Kairi Sane, Motor City Machine Guns, Elektra Lopez, and LWO members for the project. This unexpected timing has led many to believe that WWE may not have planned his release far in advance, as it seems odd to use someone to promote a show if you know they'll be cut. Nevertheless, Corbin's time with WWE has ended, and he'll now have to forge a path outside the company, but his exit was seemingly a decision by WWE that came down to the wire. In January 2025, WWE and Netflix will launch their huge deal to bring Raw to the streaming juggernaut, and fans can expect a ton of changes in all avenues next year. It was previously reported that WWE's first Raw on Netflix will come on January 6th, and that WWE is planning to have Travis Scott on the show as part of the debut episode. Speaking on Fightful's Q&A podcast, Sean Ross Sapp shared that talent he's spoken to have not been informed which brand they'll be on post-move, and are in the dark right now. We'll have to wait and see whether there will be a huge shakeup among talent, or if they'll stay the same next year, as a new era of WWE is about to begin. Now, last weekend, WWE hosted its 6th annual Crown Jewel event and its 12th PLE in Saudi Arabia overall, which saw the crowning of the men's and women's Crown Jewel champions. The show wasn't just historic for these inaugural champions, as in a press release, WWE shared that the show was the most watched WWE event in Saudi Arabia of all time. The show saw a significant 28% increase in viewership from last year's Crown Jewel, which saw Roman Reigns retain the undisputed WWE Universal title against LA Knight in the main event. This year's Crown Jewel was also a sellout according to the statement, and with such impressive results, expect more high-profile shows in the nation for years to come. On the January 20th edition of Collision, Ortiz suffered a torn pectoral muscle in a tag match, pitting himself and Eddie Kingston against Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. Now, a positive update has been shared, as during a vlog from Isaiah Cassidy, Ortiz spoke in Milwaukee, where the September 4th episode of Dynamite aired. Ortiz said he's not quite back yet, but said he's right there, and said he's now stronger and faster, but feels less flexible. Ortiz's return is highly anticipated by AEW fans, especially those who remember his impactful performances as one half of Proud and Powerful, and we continue to wish him a speedy recovery. Speaking of injuries, fans won't be seeing Carl Anderson for some time, as the Good Brother has shared that he'll be out with a setback for months. On Twitter, Anderson thanked Dr. Dugas of Birmingham, Alabama for fixing his arm, and told fans he'll see them after WrestleMania, and we also wish him a full and speedy recovery. And we're ending with The Rock, who, when not beating Cody Rhodes to a bloody pulp on the road to WrestleMania, can be found making movies with top A-list names. This week, the Brahma Bull walked the red carpet in Berlin alongside Lucy Liu for the premiere of Red One, a new festive film that both actors are starring in. Co-stars Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons, and many more also graced the red carpet, as did the film's director Jake Kasdan, who celebrated with the cast. The Rock was all smiles for the premiere, but will be all business when he returns to WWE. And with WrestleMania season drawing ever closer, it may not be long until the boss is back.